Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Get Decked, the video series where I build budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games night and to use to introduce friends and family members to the game. In this episode, we're going to look at a deck called Life Support. So I feel like it's kind of inevitable. Everyone, I think, at some point in their Magic the Gathering hobby history does like just a life gain deck in some way. So this is my spin on a life gain deck. Just as in before we've had like a mono red dragon deck, we've had just kind of like a mono blue control deck. Now it's time for mono white, and we're going to do what mono white doesn't do that much anymore, but used to like back when I used to play more regularly, which was just gain life. But hopefully, what we've got in here is going to make it a bit more interesting than it usually is. So. Before we get into it, let's remind ourselves of the rules of Get Decked. So these decks are 60 cards. They're designed for 1v1 games. There's no format restrictions. We try and keep the deck kind of cheap by using mostly commons or uncommons and cards that cost less than $2 at time of recording. We limit ourselves to 12 different non-land cards, so basically like 12 play sets of 3, and that's for the mix of variety and consistency. We kind of aim for having like a strong theme, in this case life gain, and low to mid complexity, and just because it's casual doesn't mean the deck has to be weak or bad. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's look at the deck list for this. So we've got 23 creatures, 7 enchantments, 6 instants, 24 land, and mana curve off to the side there. So let's dive in and start looking at all these life gain effects. So how are we winning? And that's genuinely a good question to ask with like white, with especially mono white life gain decks, because slight tangent here, but like back in the day when white just did a load of life gain effects, like before it's had quite a few, I'd say level power ups in the recent years, white just had a bunch of effects that just gained life, and that was it. So really all it was just essentially stalling out the game, because it didn't really do anything with that life gain other than, I say, like drag the game out. But thankfully, white now has a bunch of tools that interact with life gain. So we've actually got, I think, some pretty good win conditions here. So we've got 4 Ajani's Pridemate, which was kind of, I want to say, like one of the first cards that did this kind of way of interacting with life gain in a way that actually meant you could win the game. So Johnny's Primate is this absolute classic card. I love it. So 1 white for a 2/2, and whenever you gain life, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So we've got so much life gain in the deck. Like this is going to get out of control very, very quickly. And I say that from bitter experience, having been on both sides of a Johnny's Pridemate. We got 3 Angels of Vitality, so 2 and white for a 2/2 with flying. If you gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. And if you've got more than 25 life, which you very easily will, I think, then it gets +2/+2, goes up to being a 4/4. So again, like a really sizable creature in the air, and just again like another way of interacting with life gain. It actually matters to have like high life, and then we've got 3 Twin Blade Paladin as well, which is very similar to Ajani's Pridemate, except it's slightly higher. It's got base stats. It's a 3/3, and when you have 25 or more life, it has double strike, which obviously goes really nicely with if you've been gaining life and it's been getting counters, and then suddenly it has double strike. Yeah, so these I think like the core of our win condition here, honestly. And then we've got 3 aerial responders, basically white vampire nighthawk. So 1 and double white for flying, vigilance, and lifelink, and a 2/3, which is like just really solid at 3 mana. Just a really, really solid creature, I think. Just a good inclusion. And then we've got 3 Boonbringer Valkyries, so 3 in double white for a 4/4. Has this ability backup. So backup 1, whenever this creature enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on type creature, and if that's another creature, it gains the following abilities until end of turn, and it has flying, first strike, and lifelink. So it can either come in and be a 5/5, or more likely it'll come in, it'll be a 4/4, give something a +1/+1 counter, and then that creature's going to get flying, first strike, and lifelink until end of turn. And if you put that on the Twin Blade Paladin or Ajani's Pridemate, then you're in for a good time, basically. So yeah, I really, really like Boombringer Valkyrie. I think it's a fantastic card. So yeah, this is the core of it. We're gaining life, but hopefully we're depleting the opponent's life total faster than we're gaining. So we're going to talk about what helps us win. So this is basically going to be all the life gain effects that help trigger all those other effects. So I had to do it. I had to include classic Soul Warden in here. And like I was umming and ahhing when I was putting the deck together. There are like lesser Soul Warden effects, like Impassioned Orator is one. And I think there's another one which I can't remember, like Soul Mender or something, which is, like it just taps and gains you some life. And I was thinking like, oh, we'll do that for like budget reasons. But in the mono blue deck, I had Counterspell. I was like, even though Counterspell is kind of pricey, Soul Warden is kind of pricey. Soul Warden is kind of at the $2 like limit in terms of cards, but like it's so good. It's so good. We have to have a full play set of here, because it's such a nice turn one Soul Warden, turn to Ajani's Pride Mate is like fantastic. It's such a good play. And it's every creature that ends the battlefield. It's not just yours, so it's like this really symmetrical effect. Soul Warden really gets out of hand, and it draws like a disproportionate amount of hate. People will go to huge lengths to try and get rid of Soul Warden. Again, speaking from experience. So we've got 3 outside of Life's Bounty as well. So 1 white mana for 1/1 with lifelink, which is just nice. Obviously ties to the theme of gaining some life. It has a nice little cheeky ability here. So 1 and sacrifice it to give a creature or enchantment you control protection from the color of your choice until end turn. And this is basically here. So in case we don't find any other evasion for like Twinblade Paladin or Ajani's Pride Mate, we can use Outside of Life's Bounty to give them protection from the main colors the opponent's got, so they can get through unscathed. Also, this works to protect Ajani's Pride Mate or Twinblade or any other big creature we've got by again just sacrificing this to give them protection to hopefully like dodge removal or something. So yeah, really nice little inclusion here. I really like Outside of Life's Bounty. And then I say a whole bunch of enchantments, a whole bunch of effects that care about life gain as well. So we've got 2 Path of Bravery, so 2 and a white for an enchantment. As long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, not difficult to do, I don't think. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever 1 or more creatures you control attack, you gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. So again, like really nice effect. Like because what we want in this deck is like constant life gain effects. We don't want like one big swing of life gain really. We want constant repeated ones, so like Ajani's Pride Mate, Twinblade Paladin can keep getting like lots of individual like triggers of it basically. So yeah, I really like Path of Bravery. We've got 2 Dawn of Hope, so 1 white enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you can pay 2, and if you do, draw a card. So it's really nice to, because we're playing mono white, so we're not doing great in terms of card draw, but to be able to turn life gain into card draw for, admittedly we've got to pay for it, but like it's better than nothing, and it means we don't there's a low chance we run out of gas. We can keep drawing up as long as we keep gaining life. And obviously what synergizes with this really well is that Dawn of Hope also has the ability where you can just make a token creature that's got life link, so obviously it synergizes with itself. That creature does damage, you gain some life, and then you get to pay and draw a card. So really like Dawn of Hope as well. These are 2 really nice enchantments. I really like them. And they've got 3 Desperate Lunges, which is from the Gideon War of the Spark Planeswalker deck, and I really liked it when I looked at it there. So 1 white. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. So Mighty Leap, we've all seen Mighty Leap before. It usually shows up in sets as kind of like as a normal white common bust spell. But Desperate Lunge is better because it also lets you gain 2 life, which is again in this deck when you've got like a Ajani's Pride Mate and Twinblade Paladin. Gaining the extra life is going to give you the other buff, and also then they're getting +2/+2 and flying, which is obviously a nice useful bit of evasion, so then get through and hopefully hit the opponent. So yeah, really like Desperate Lunge. So now we're going to talk about what stops our opponent winning. So the limited options, as I'm sort of discovering there usually are in this section of the decks, but we've got 3 Invoke the Divine as like a bit of utility just to get rid of artifacts or enchantments and also gain us a bit of life. But the real star of the deck, I think, is Recumbent Bliss. So it's 2 white and it's an aura, it goes on a creature, and it's a pacifism effect, so the enchanted creature can't attack or block, but at the beginning of your upkeep you may gain 1 life. So again, this is really nice. It's like this just constant trickle of like 1 life, which Ajani's Pride Mate and Twinblade Paladin really like to get, so they can keep getting their counters and keep getting bigger. And hopefully we won't need the blisses for that long, because we'll just smash through with big buffed up creatures. And then the mana base is very straightforward. So it's 20 planes. And for Kibera Crossroads, so Kibera Crossroads comes in play tapped, but it also gains us some life when it comes in, and it's fine, just gives us white. So again, just like another little way. Again, there's probably like better non-basic lands that like give us life and also maybe have some other effect. But yeah, this is again always welcome to any comments that people have of ways to improve the deck or things they'd swap in or swap out. So what stops us winning? So I guess what it is, and I've sort of like touched on it when I talked about it, we've got this kind of delicate balance here of like Stuff that gains us life and stuff that cares about life gain, and we kind of like without the other, the without one, the other is like not up to its full potential basically. So because like Ajani's Primate Twin Blade Paladin, if we're not gaining any life, they're not doing great. They're kind of then not not wonderful. And the same way, if we've got like Soul Warden, Path of Bravery, Become Bliss, we've got all those, and we haven't got the life gain effects, then we're just gaining life for essentially no reason other than just to kind of like stall out the game. I mean, I suppose the thing, if we're gaining life, but we haven't got the other effects, it is making the game go longer. So there's more chance of then of drawing the stuff that benefits from life gain. But I suppose that's the main thing, isn't it? Like this deck is essentially two very separate halves that are trying to synergize with each other. The other thing as well, like a lot of the creatures like kind of start off small. Obviously, they can get pretty big, but they're relying on like +1/+1 counters for the most part. So until they get those, we're kind of vulnerable to like sweep effects. Just in general, ones that kill or ones that bounce. If we Ajani's Primate gets bounced, saying it loses a bunch of counters, that can be a real pain to like build them back up again. And also, like life gain is great, but also it doesn't matter against other like alternate win conditions. Like it doesn't matter against poison, it doesn't matter against mill. So that's always doesn't matter how much life you've got when when your deck's run out of cards or you've got 10 poison counters. But I'd love to know what you think about this take on kind of like a white life gain deck. Yeah, stick a comment down below if you've got any thoughts or say suggestions you've got for different cards, like things you'd sub in, sub out. Is it kind of deck you'd be interested in playing, or like you've got a friend or family member you think would enjoy playing this type of deck? Like, stick a comment below, let me know. But I'll be back next time with another Get Decked deck. So I hope you join me for that. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.